Today, let's look at something that most of us have either experienced or have seen somebody else go through it. And this is what we call emotional entanglement. Now, emotional entanglement happens when people are in a relationship, whether it is romantic or otherwise, but where emotions come together. Now, what becomes so much difficult is when people part ways, and getting those emotions away from each other becomes one of the most difficult and painful process. And that's what you're going to look at today, including what are some of the things that we can do to be able to get ourselves to a better place once that has happened. When two people connect, they kind of like create that space where each person feels they need the other, depending on what they offer, but each person will feel there's something that they need from the other person. And now this is where the main problems comes in. And today, as we look into it, I'm going to demonstrate how this comes in and how we can be able to take care of it. When two people connect deeply, it's not just about spending time together. It's also about bonding. Emotionally, we are wired to just attach to people. They make us feel safe, feel loved, and feel understood. And it's like the brain tends to say, this person matters so much to me, and so hold on to them. So that holding is what is the biggest challenge. Here is where it gets very interesting. Chemicals like oxytocin, that is the bonding hormone, and dopamine, the feel-good hormone, these are released when we share intimate moments. Now, think about a couple holding hands, sharing secrets, or even arguing. It may not seem a good thing, but it's still a way of people getting to bond in one way or the other, since most of the times people are going to argue and still make up. So these moments may be like invisible threads that are tying two people together, and getting these threads out of each other is not one of the easiest things. As an example, let's take two people. Let's say, imagine of Mary and Mark. So for Mary, she relies very much on Mark to feel safe, to feel understood, to feel loved. And then for Mark, probably relies so much on Mary when, for example, things are tough, when things are not going the right way. At least he's got someone that he talks to. And so over time, they create a very deep bond with each other. They feel they need each other. To an extent, they might even feel we cannot do it without each other. And that's where the emotions connect. If Mary and Mark were to break up, this is what happens. Mary will continually replay in her mind those happy moments of how she used to rely on Mark whenever she needed him, or whenever she felt she needed someone to love her, someone who understood her. She always relied on Mark. And for that, the brain is always replaying those moments, and yet they have broken up. Equally, Mark on the other side, because he relied on Mary to be the shoulder to lean on. So even when the breakup happens, he will still continue feeling like he wants to pick up his phone and call her so that he can share how his day is going on, what are the things that are going on with his life. He's just been so attached and, to that extent that he feels that this is the person that I need to be sharing my life with. And now, since the relationship has broken and the mind is still replaying moments of the past, it becomes very hard to leave the past and move on to the future. And that's why people say, I need to be able to move on with my life. I need to find ways that I can be able to allow myself to heal and be able to go on with my life. And that is one of the hardest things that I've seen people, and many times it's very hard and it takes time, but it is doable. That's the one thing that you need to know, that it is doable, it is possible, even though it feels like it is not possible. Especially when someone has just gone through it, you feel like your world has gone apart, your world is all broken, and you don't even seem to see like there's any other way life can be without that person. But today we are going to demystify that and see that it is actually possible. But even as we do all this, remember, it is easier said than done. So what you're going to do next is, how can we be able to untangle? So like I've said, untangling that relationship is not easy, because when the relationship ends, it's not just about losing the person, you're losing the version of yourself that you were with them. It feels like pulling apart, like some invisible thread that doesn't break easily. And neurologically also, your brain has a gap where the person's presence used to be, and it used to be that dopamine high from, the text messages, the hugs, even the arguments, including just that feeling of being understood, being loved, someone that you used to talk to all the time. And so it ends up feeling like withdrawing from addiction. The brain craves for what it feels that it has lost. And so that's why, as we say, trying to get this off is not very easy. Now let's look at some of the ways or things that you can do to be able to detach. Even though it feels very hard, it sounds one of the hardest thing to do, but it is possible. So these are some of the things, like I'm demonstrating and showing that it is possible to detach one seed at a time, one small thing at a time. You can do it, and these are some of the ways you can do it. So the first thing is accept and acknowledge the pain. Very critical, because what happens is that it is so hard to accept that things have happened. So don't suppress your feelings. Start by things like journaling them. Talk to someone that you can trust, who can help you to process the emotions. You can do this through one-on-one or even group sessions or group therapy, where you can be able to speak your feelings and be able to express yourself, and eventually you can be able to start seeing and feeling that the burden is lighter. The second thing that you can do is to create emotional distance, and in that it means stay away from this person. You can start from doing a physical separation where you're not near this person. That way you don't have to keep remembering, keep seeing this person. It becomes a trigger. But also emotionally, try to start now detaching slowly the emotions. You can be aware of, you said acknowledge the pain, but secondly is the emotion that is coming with it. So start getting away from it, acknowledging, yes, it's painful, but you can start knowing that you need not to continually feel the pain the way you've always felt it. The other thing that you need to do is to rebuild your identity. Now, remember, when people come together, they kind of like almost tend to do things together, visit the same people, cook the same time, eat the same time, go for hobbies together, travel together. Everything is in twos. It's almost to an extent that the brain also even got used to doing everything in twos. Now the brain takes time to adapt again, and so to bring it back to where you can do things by your own or in singular, it's not easy. But you need to be able to rediscover, who are you even before this relationship? What are the hobbies? What are the things that you loved doing? And that way you can start going back to them. Even if it's not things that you loved, you can also create new ones. Whereby, for example, you can create interest in things that probably you've never done before, whether it's a hobby, whether it is going back to school, whether it is reading, whether it's even starting a new thing, like maybe you start traveling, you make new friends. Just do something that makes you stay away from this person and starts also redefining your life to do the things that you really love to do. Equally, there are many things you may have suppressed from doing while you were together. Now start thinking, what are those things that I always felt like I want to do, but I never brought myself around to do it? This is the time to start. And you do not waste time, just allow yourself to start. It may not be easy, because again, when the emotions are hurting, even doing things that you'd love to do are not easy. But just push yourself a little bit, one at a time, and finally you'll find that the more you start doing things by yourself, even the brain will start adapting slowly, that now you're on your own and you can do this. As you continually do new things, it's like you're rewiring your brain. Now it will start seeing things differently, and over time it will start understanding that I am here, I need to do this. Once the thoughts now build up of knowing that you can be able to do things, remember that is what translates to emotions. So your emotions will also start getting aligned to your thoughts. That emotion is also now going to lead to an action or a habit or a behavior. And so you find that you're going to form new behaviors around this situation, because now you're starting to think differently, to think for yourself, to do things that are aligned to what you like or what you feel is the best thing to do for yourself. Lastly, seek support. Always find somebody who is willing to talk to you, someone whom you can pour your heart to, explain to them what you feel. Allow them to see your world, however vulnerable that could be. If you have a person who cares about you, they're actually going to help you, because they're going to listen to you. At that point, the brain just wants somebody to listen, because you may want to talk about it over and over and over again. So get somebody who is willing to listen to you, somebody who is willing to hold your hand. Even if it's not one person, it can be a group of people who you just talk to, friends, family, anybody who has in your interest at heart. Then those are the people you talk to. And over time, you realize that as you talk about it, as you narrate the story, as you continue saying what happened, it becomes easier to manage, it becomes easier to hold. And over time, you find you've actually been able to disentangle. This side and this side has gone its own way. Things that seemed so difficult now become so much easier. And that way you start getting to know that you're healing. So just remind us that When you imagine how deeply you were entangled with someone and how even harder it is to get yourself out of the emotions or that entanglement that had happened, just appreciate yourself and know that first, you're a very good person who is able to give their all to another person. It's not obvious that when you are in a relationship with someone that you can be able to give your all. So pat yourself on the back that actually you're a good person who is able to give your all to the other person. Secondly, know that disentangling is not linear. Some days you feel you're so high and so good. The other day you go back to a hole, you feel like you're struggling. But as you continue healing, you find that the frequency and the intensity of that pain continues being less and less and less over time. And that way you know that into your road to recovery. So I really wish you all the very best. I know this is a tough journey, but it's a journey that is possible. People in the past have been able to do it. You are also going to do it. And one thing, remember that you've got a lot of power within you. You can make it, you can do it, and you will do it. I wish you all the very best, and I look forward to seeing you in the next. Thank you.